After completing my 10th class exams in 1979, my father suggested that I go and help my father's uncle and learns astrology. Mathematics being my favorite subject, I learned the calculations. My grandfather taught me how to calculate the inclinations of each planet and how to calculate the lagna and the meridian center MC, and he gave me some birth charts to draw. Thus, I learned how to draw the birth charts first and showed interest in predictions. So, my grandfather told me some predictions, some of the tips that he usually uses for predictions. And after learning those tips, I documented some of them. I verified with my father. While my father and my grandfather have laid the foundation for me to get interested in astrology, for almost a decade or 2 decades, I didn't show any interest.
Welcome to Sastry Karra's astrological series. In this series video presentation, I am going to explain the transit analysis for the year 2018. Previous years when I explained the transit analysis, either I did it in the PDF format and uploaded it in the Scribd website, and I think once I did the same PDF format, but I did upload into the YouTube. Those both the times that I did it, it was in a numerical format. This time I decided that I do it in a graphical format, a different way approach of viewing the transit planets for the whole year at the same time and trying to see the impact when multiple planets are co-joined on a given date. In this graphical analysis, what I'm trying to do is to pick the slow moving planets Rahu, Saturn and Jupiter. I'm going to make all of these three slow moving planets are fixed because the maximum distance that they travel, the inclination is between 5 to 10 degrees for the whole year. So when you look at these three slow moving planets, it will be almost a straight line. It's minor differences here and there. Now, keeping these three slow planets on the graph, I try to see how the fast moving planets are moving, and these fast moving planets, when are they are co-joining with the slow moving planets. When I meant by co-joining, what I mean is that the inclination of the fast moving planet is very close to the inclination of the slow moving planets. When the slow moving when the fast moving planet is so close to a slow moving planet, and that slow moving planet is a malefic like Rahu or Saturn, then the fast moving planets, if it is a benefic, it gets afflicted. If it is a malefic, then the negative impact of Saturn or Rahu gets amplified. So we have to look for those are the days when a fast moving planet is co-joining with the slow moving planet. That's what I'm going to do in the first part of this series, in this video presentation. In the second part, what I'm trying to do is the days that I identified in the first part, I'm going to take those days and the planetary positions, and then in my own birth chart, natal chart, I'm going to superimpose those and predict what could be the possibility. And let me see, like I want to show the learners how to do the annual predictions, yearly predictions based upon the transit planets, so when superimposed on the natal chart. I hope you will like this presentation, and let me know what exactly you would like more to do it when it comes to the transit analysis, and I'll try to include those in the next year's transit analysis. Thank you very much.
When we do the transit analysis, the very first thing that I do is to look at the slow moving planets. In 2018, the three slow moving planets are Rahu, Jupiter and Saturn. So when you look at the inclinations, the inclination is so small that they hardly move. So let's go and see where they are first. Let's start with Rahu. Rahu will be in Cancer, which is the owned by Moon, and so since transit Rahu is going to be in Cancer for the whole year 2018, its direct aspect is on Capricorn. Capricorn is owned by Saturn. So Rahu is having a direct aspect on the house owned by Saturn. This is very important that we have to keep in mind for the year 2018. Whenever Rahu or Saturn or the very important Mahadasas are running for any native, and either of those planets are either Rahu or Saturn is in Capricorn or Cancer, then this impact of transit Rahu will be highly visible. So that's the reason why I said we have to keep this in mind. Now let's go to the next one, that is the Jupiter. Jupiter is going to be in Libra, if I remember, until July or August of 2018. So we'll talk up to that point of like August 2018. Up to that point we'll talk about Jupiter's aspects. Jupiter aspect, the fifth aspect is on Aquarius, owned by Saturn, and Jupiter and Saturn are enemies. So it clearly tells you that Jupiter's fifth aspect is on Jupiter's fifth aspect is on a house owned by its enemy. That's very important there. The next one, the direct aspect. The direct aspect is on Aries, owned by Mars, and Mars is the best friend for Jupiter, so that's good. And then the ninth aspect is on Gemini, owned by Mercury, and Mercury is the enemy for Jupiter. So when you look at it, transit Jupiter's two out of three aspects are on enemies' houses. So if Jupiter is not strong in a native's chart, and if there are any enemies residing in the houses that it aspects, then the impact will be very highly visible in the year 2018 for that particular native. Let's go to the third one, the third slow moving planet, Saturn. Saturn is going to reside in Sagittarius for a long time. So I think December 2019. So for the whole year for the whole year 2018, Saturn is going to be in Sagittarius, period. So now let's start looking at its aspects. The third aspect is on Aquarius, its own house. But remember, transit Jupiter is also looking at Aquarius, and transit Saturn is also looking at Aquarius. So Aquarius, the house Aquarius became very, very important, depending upon for a native, if that native has any important planets in that house, or Aquarius is an important house owned by an important planet. The next one is transit Saturn's direct aspect is on Gemini. Mercury is a friend to Saturn, but unfortunately Jupiter's ninth aspect is on Gemini, and Saturn's direct aspect is on Gemini. So when you look at in 2018, starting January 2018 all the way till August 2018, both Saturn and Jupiter are looking at Aquarius and Gemini. So these two houses now becomes very, very important. The third one is Saturn's 10th aspect is on Virgo. Virgo is again owned by Mercury, its friend, so we don't need to worry about that part of it. So overall, if you are trying to do a yearly prediction for the year 2018, the most important houses that you have to look at is Cancer and Capricorn, Aquarius and Gemini. That's all. These are the four houses you have to keep an eye on it, because these are the houses that the transit planets, slow moving planets, are going to impact, and depending upon the natives, what are the bhavas that these houses have, depend on that, the prediction needs to be done. Now that we have seen the three slow moving planets transit for the year 2018, let's try to superimpose some of the fast moving planets and see when they are going to touch one of these three slow moving planets. We'll start with Mars. When you look in the chart, transit Saturn and transit Mars will be almost close to the same inclination for at least 10 days, for a maximum of 10 days. That is starting March 25th all the way till April 4th. What you see is that Mars inclination and Saturn inclination is exactly the same. So when you look at it, what's the relationship between Saturn and Mars? Saturn and Mars are neutral. The relationship between Saturn and Mars is neutral. So when they are, and where are they having that co-joining? They are having that co-join in Sagittarius, and the owner of the Sagittarius is Jupiter, and fortunately Jupiter is a friend to Mars. So when Mars and Saturn are co-joined for this 10 day 1 week in Sagittarius, Saturn is residing in the house owned by enemy, which is Jupiter. Mars is residing in the house owned by the friend, which is Jupiter, and the relationship between Saturn and Mars is neutral. So the impact will be minimal as long as the natal position of Saturn and Mars is not afflicted or is not in any of the Dushtana houses. So depending upon that, we can say predict for 2018 for a given individual what will be the result for this combination. Now let's start analyzing the three slow moving planets with another fast moving planet, Sun. When you look at the chart, transit Sun is going to meet all the three slow moving planets somewhere in 2018. So let's start with the first one. The very first one it is going to meet is transit Rahu, because Rahu is in Cancer. Sun will be coming over to Cancer somewhere in July of 2000 in every year. So in 2018, Sun is going to enter Cancer and be with the same inclination or very close inclination on from 27th July all the way till August 1st. So that's come to 5 to 6 days. Those 6 days, Rahu and Sun are very close to each other in Cancer. So if Cancer is an important house for the NATO, then this particular combination is very crucial. And I don't want to jump now, but there are two examples with the Sun and Rahu. One example is one example is for the US President Donald Trump, where Sun and Rahu, natal Sun and natal Rahu are in 10th house, which is career, and now transit Rahu and transit Sun are going to be in Cancer, which is the 12th house. So you can see that how the impact of that particular person's career will be during those 7 days. When I go in detail, I will explain and then we will do the analysis over there. The second one is transit Sun coming to Libra in somewhere in November. And usually what happens is that when it comes to Libra, it gets debilitated or Nietzsche. So Sun is getting Nietzsche in Libra, and now Sun is now co-joined, transit Sun is getting co-joined with transit Jupiter in Libra. They both will be of the same inclination very close by for almost 5 to 6 days. That is from 24th November all the way till 29th November. They are very close to each other. So because Sun is Nietzsche and Jupiter is in Libra and co-joined with Jupiter, and like I said earlier, for the US president, where Sun is the first house lord and natal Sun is the first house lord and natal Sun is residing in 10th house, now transit Sun is coming to Nietzsche in November. You got to see what exactly is going to happen there. That is a this combination is very important for people like him. The third one, this is another important combination that I would like to talk about is Sun entering Sagittarius, where transit Saturn is residing. So when you look at it, starting 28th December 2018, the last 5 days in 2018, transit Sun is co-joining with transit Saturn in Sagittarius, and they both are going to be in the same inclination. This is the very bad combination to happen, uh, because we know that Sun and Saturn are bitter enemies, and while Sun is residing in Sagittarius owned by his friend Jupiter, Saturn is residing in Sagittarius owned by his enemy Jupiter. So the two bitter enemies are residing in the house. For one the owner is the enemy, for the other the owner is a friend. So it is a very important combination to think about. And when I take the examples and explain more in detail how these three combinations are going to have an impact on a native, I will explain to you when I come over there. Let me start to discuss about the multiple planet combinations in the year 2018. The multiple planets are multiple transit planets. So if you look in this is the first combination. The first combination is Sun, Mercury, Venus, the three important planets. All the three are in Sagittarius, where transit Saturn is residing. So if you look at it, starting 7th January all the way till 13th January, yeah, Sun is going to be in Sagittarius, and when you look at it, it is going to Sun, Mercury, Venus and Saturn all are in the same house, Sagittarius. But as I said earlier, these are the days when uh, Sun is residing in the house owned by his friend Jupiter, and for when it comes to Mercury, for Jupiter, Mercury is a enemy, Saturn is a enemy, Sun is a friend, and Venus is neutral. So let's start. The house owner, oh yeah, I wrote it down here, everything. So the aspecting houses for the house owner, for all these three planets, uh, we are having the tough time for is Mercury, Saturn. These are the two planets, transit planets, that are going to have tough time. And the Sun and Venus, Sun is a friend, so it's okay, and Venus is in neutral, so let's not worry about that part of it. Now when these planets are in Sagittarius, let's go and look at which houses do they aspect. Sun, the direct aspect, we'll start with the direct aspect. All of the them are going to have a direct aspect on Gemini. Gemini owned by Mercury, okay, and the aspecting house owner is Mercury, and he is a friend for most of them, so we don't need to worry. The next thing is Saturn. Because Saturn is a part of the combination, Saturn has two other additional aspects. The third aspect is on Aquarius, and it's owned by himself, he owns that. And the 10th aspect is on Virgo, owned by Mercury, his friend, Saturn's friend. So when you look at it, the advantage of this combination is none of, apart from Saturn residing in an enemy's house, apart from that everything else is on a positive side. Now let me take this example and look at it and see how would it impact. This is my own chart. When you look at my chart, what you can see is that Sagittarius is 1 2 3 4. The fourth house is Sagittarius. That's where these first combination of the planets are going to reside for at least 7 to 13th, means 7 days, 8 days. So for the first 8 days of the year, so these 5 planets are going to reside there. 1 2 3 4, 4 planets are going to reside over there. If you look at the natal chart, their direct aspect is on the 10th house, which is Gemini. For me, it is the 10th house where Rahu and Venus are residing. Okay, so these are all going to have some impact on 10th house, that is my time, my career, during that 1 week of time. So what type of impact is going to happen is something that we got to think twice. Here when you look at Sun, which is the 12th house lord, Sun is the management side, leadership side, and Sun is residing in the house owned by Jupiter, which is his friend, and also Sun is looking at Mercury, which is neutral, house owned by Mercury, which is neutral. But unfortunately, Sun is directly looking at the 10th house where its enemy Venus and Rahu are residing. So from the leadership perspective, from planet Sun perspective, there will be some sort of a disturbances on those 7 days in my career. Next is Mercury. Mercury is the first house lord and the 10th house lord. Oh my gosh, the both of them are. So Mercury, where is Mercury residing? For Jupiter, Mercury is a enemy. Oh god. So the first and the 10th house, so first house is me, myself, 10th house is my career. Mercury is going to create some sort of a disturbance. Whatever the Sun has created, Mercury is going to add to it, because for Sun, Mercury is a neutral planet. And the third one is Venus. Venus is the second and 9th house lord for me, residing in the 10th house. So transit Venus is directly looking at the natal Venus. And for Venus, for Jupiter, Venus is a neutral planet. So whatever it's going to do, it's going to remain neutral for me in this during that period. And then comes the important planet Saturn. Saturn is the 5th and 6th house lord, residing in the 4th house, having a direct aspect on 10th house. So for Saturn, Rahu is the best enemy, and for Saturn, Venus is also the best. Rahu is the best friend. Venus is also the best friend. So from the Saturn's perspective, when you look at these 4 planets in the Graha Yuddha, Saturn is a winner. So Saturn is going to decide something pertaining to 6th house, which is employment conditions, because it is looking at the 10th house. So whatever the destruction or the troubles that Sun and Mercury are going to make during that 1 week in my career, Saturn is going to reduce the destruction, and somehow make it's finally ending up in a neutral position, like neither good nor bad is going to happen. That is during these 7 days of my the first combination. And now let's go and look at the aspect of Saturn, because Saturn is a Graha Yuddha winner. Saturn's third aspect is on 6th house, that is Aquarius, where natal Saturn is residing. So transit Saturn and natal Saturn became very strong here. And then Saturn's 10th aspect is on Virgo, that is my first house, Lagnadipati, Lagnasthanamu, so Tanusthanamu. So Saturn is going to have its amazing impact pertaining to the employment conditions and pertaining to my career during these 7-10 days. Let me wait and see what exactly is going to happen, because it's in January, usually January 7th. If I 7th January 2018, I will be completing 10 years of my service in US government. So that is, I will complete my 10th year on 7th January 2018. So it's exactly, see, Saturn has given me is going to do something with the completion of 10 years from starting 7th January till 13th January. Let me go and see what exactly is Saturn trying to do during that one week period. Now that we have done the combinations, the first combination, let's try to see, when this combination is existing, what are the other two slow moving transit planets are going to have an impact on this, on my chart during this period, specifically during this 7 days in January. Transit Rahu will be in 11th house, that is where the Labhasthadamu is there. So Rahu's direct aspect is on Capricorn, which is the fifth house, 1 2 3 4, fifth house. So fifth house deals with children, fifth house deals with higher education, and fifth house deals with father. Since Rahu, the natal Rahu is residing in 10th house, and transit Rahu is in 11th house looking at the 5th house, if pertaining to career, if something has been done, it has to do something that makes me to go for some sort of a education related stuff, because it is fifth house deals with education and training, higher education or higher educational related trainings during that 7 days of the time. Or it will be Rahu will be helping me to get trained on something that would be helpful for my career after 13th January. Now let's go and look at Jupiter. Jupiter is the lord of the fourth and seventh houses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Fourth house is home life environment, and the seventh house is Kalatrasanama and short term travels. Since Jupiter is going to be in the second house, which is a Kutumbasthanamo and Dhanasthanamo, transit Jupiter is going to be the second house, which is Kutumbasthanamo and Dhanasthanamo. Transit Jupiter is going to have a direct aspect on natal Jupiter in the 8th house. So Jupiter now became here extremely strong. Okay, so since Jupiter became both natal Jupiter and transit Jupiter looking at each other indicates that the power of Jupiter became stronger here on the chart during that period. Because Jupiter is the fourth and seventh house lord, the fourth house deals with home life environment and seventh house deals with spouse or short term travels. So Jupiter, we have no idea exactly what Jupiter is going to do during that period, but it would be related it would be something that the event will be something that is related to home life environment, my home life environment, Sukasthanamo, and seventh house is Kalatrastanamo pertaining to spouse or some sort of a some sort of a short-term travels. Let me wait and see what exactly is going to happen in those 5 days. Now let me go and discuss about the second important combination, multiple planet combination in the year 2018. The second important combination that I noticed, this is what I noticed, is the joining of Mars and Saturn. Remember earlier I explained that there is a possibility for Mars and Saturn to be co-joined for some period somewhere, and when you look at it here, even though Mars and Saturn are from 803. 803 is 8th March 8th. So if you look at it from March 8th all the way till May 2nd, March, April, May. So you can take it as approximately 2.5 months. So Mars and Saturn are going to be in Sagittarius for approximately 2.5 months. They are co-joined there. So these 2.5 months are very, very important for the native who has Saturn Mahadasa and Mars being a house lord for important house. Here in this example that I took is the Bollywood actor Salman Khan. For Salman Khan, Mars is the Lagnadipati, the first house lord, and is residing in 10th house. 10th house is Career, and the 10th house lord is Saturn again. See, that's the reason why I picked this particular native's chart. So Mars, natal Mars is the 10th is Lagnadipati and residing in the 10th house owned by Saturn is one thing that we have to keep in mind. For Mars, Saturn is a neutral planet, but though both are malefic planets, that's the reason why when their combination is always very crucial or very important and to be noticed. Now let's go and see where is the natal Saturn. The natal Saturn is in the 11th house, so that is the Labhasthanamo. So the 10th and 11th house lord Saturn is residing in the 11th house. That's good. Up to that point, that's the natal charts of it. Now let's superimpose with the transit Saturn and transit Mars. Transit Saturn and transit Mars are going to be in the 9th house. 9th house is Bhagyasthanamo. So for this particular native, the 10th and 11th house lord and the first house lord Saturn and Mars are going to be in 9th house, which is Bhagyasthanamo. Very good. That's a very good sign for that particular native. And so the Bhagyasthana Adhipati is Jupiter. And for Jupiter, Mars is a friend and Saturn is an enemy. Oh, great. That's good. So the 10th and 11th house lord is an enemy, is residing in enemy's house. But the Lagnadipati Mars is residing in the friend's house. As if that's not sufficient, there are two more things that we need to look at in this particular chart. In Sagittarius, the fifth house lord is Sun, is residing in Sagittarius. Remember, Sun is the bitter enemy for Saturn. So the 10th and 11th house lord Saturn is residing in the house owned by its enemy Jupiter, is co-joined with its bitter enemy Sun. So the 10th and 11th house lord is become so dynamic that it's very chaotic when it comes to career, and labasthanamu is financial gains for this particular NATO. And because it is a Mars house, it will, Mars being the first house lord, it will be the self. So that's what is happened. Now when you look at it, another bad thing for this particular NATO is when you look at directly Sun, Saturn, transit Mars, and natal Sun. All the three are having a direct aspect on the third house where natal Jupiter is residing. So these all the what you call all these three planets are having a direct aspect on the eighth house lord Jupiter. Remember, Jupiter is the bitter enemy for Saturn. So whenever there is any sign of combinations or relationship between Saturn and Jupiter, one thing is sure to happen: disappointments and hurdles. So now let's go and see what type of hurdles this NATO might have. First, Jupiter. We'll start with the house lord Jupiter. Jupiter, house lord, is also the lord of the 12th house. 12th house deals with unexpected expenditures, hospitalization, and imprisonment. So, and foreign travel. These are the four things that we have to keep in mind for this particular NATO. And 8th house is secret affairs and secret dealings. So that's right. And now that we have seen that the Saturn, the 10th and 11th house lord, coming over there and having a residing with the enemy in the enemy's house with co-joined with the enemy, what I might say is that the particular NATO is going to have something related with the 10th house, 10th and 11th house, 9th house and 12th house. All the four houses are going to have a major impact for this particular NATO starting March, April, and a little, March and April completely, both the 2 months, that is 60 days or 61 days. So the whole 2 months period, March and April of 2018, this particular NATO is going to have any tremendous challenges pertaining to Bhagyasthanamu wealth, unexpected expenditures or imprisonment or hospitalization or a foreign travel, that is pertaining to 12th house. And Bhagyasthanamu also, apart from Bhagyasthanamu, it is also Dharmasthanamu too. So something that adharma might be coming out, which was a secret all this time and might come out at that period, during this 2 months period, and that might have some sort of an impact on his financial gains and career. Now that we have seen the transit, the combination of these two, let's have a very quick look at the other two slow moving planets, Rahu and Jupiter. Transit Jupiter is going to be in Libra during this period. In March and April of 2018, transit Jupiter is going to be in Libra, which is the 7th house for this NATO. That means Jupiter is going to have a direct aspect on the first house. Okay. And now that, remember, transit Mars is residing in the house owned by Jupiter, and transit Jupiter is having a direct aspect on first house owned by Mars. So the relationship between Jupiter and Mars is very important here. They are both our friends. Because of that nature, whatever the impact, rather than that impact being major, since Jupiter is the 8th house lord, some sort of a secret dealings might end up, so that the impact will be minimized. Now go and look at Rahu. Transit Rahu is going to be in the 4th house, home life, environment, and Sukhasthanamu. So during this 2 months period, this particular NATO will be having some sort of disappointments or some sort of challenges pertaining to his home life environment. Overall, for this particular NATO during these 2 months, the major events that can be noticed, we don't know whether that will be known to the public or not, but that can be noticed is specifically pertaining to home life environment, some chaos in some sort of a disturbances in home life environment, number one. Something pertaining to dharmasthanamo or bhagyasthanamo, something pertaining to 12th house, and which these two is resulting in loss of loss of finances and some sort of a disturbances in the particular careers, in that particular native's career. Let me wait and see what exactly happened. Here I am with another example for this special combination, second combination that I'm talking about, the multiple planets. That is the combination of Saturn and Mars in Sagittarius during the month of March and April in the year 2018. This is a female native, and if you look at the Vimsottari Dasa, during that period, that means till end of 2018, what you see is Saturn Mahadasa and Saturn Antardasa. That's the reason why I picked up this particular case, female native's chart. The female native is unmarried, so let's go and see if there is any possibility for this female native to get married because of this combination. First and the foremost thing what you see is what's the role of Mars and Saturn, the natal Mars and natal Saturn in this chart. Natal Mars is the second house lord. Second, seventh, eighth, and ninth. Second and ninth house lord is natal Mars, and he's residing in the fourth house. Oh my gosh! So the natal Mars is residing in the fourth house, and being the second and the ninth house lord. Second house is Kutumbasthanamu and Dhanasthanamu. Ninth house is Bhagyasthanamu and Dharmasthanamu. Because Mars is in the second and ninth house, and you can see Saturn residing there in the ninth house too, so the native is in pertaining to is a lawyer or an attorney, pertaining to criminal, so it's a criminal lawyer, or you can call it a criminal attorney. One of those things is the native's profession, which you can clearly see by looking at the chart. Now let's go and look at the second one is the Saturn. Natal Saturn is the lord of 11th and 12th houses. 11th house is house of desires. The 12th house is when you are looking at the marriage side, the 12th house is pleasures of bed. Okay, so what you have to look now is that since a native is unmarried and a female, let me see if there is a possibility for this native to get married in the year 2018. This is okay. Now when you look at it, transit Saturn and transit Mars are going to be in the 10th house from Rashi Lagna and 11th house from Chandra Lagna. And in the 10th house, from the 10th house, they are going to have a direct aspect on the 4th house, right? They both are going to look at the 4th and 4th house, while Mars is also looking at the 5th house. That is, the 8th aspect of Mars is on the 5th house. So when they both are looking at the 4th house, Saturn is now looking at Mars. Transit Saturn is co-joined with transit Mars. They both are friends, so we don't need to worry. And transit Saturn is looking at natal Mars, second and ninth house lord, and Saturn residing in the 10th house. So we can say this particular native is going to have an amazing career during this combination, March and April. We don't know what exactly is going to happen in her career, but it's going to be amazing. Something that is remarkable is going to happen in those 2 months. The next thing is transit Saturn is having a direct aspect on Mercury and Sun. So when you look at it, Mercury is the friend, that's good. Sun is the enemy. So Mercury is the lord of the 4th and 7th houses. Remember, Saturn is the lord of the 12th house. Transit Saturn is looking at the lord of the 4th and the 7th houses, Mercury. So, and the Mahadasa is Saturn by Saturn. So when you look at the possibility for this native to get married, this is what, when during this combination, this is March and April, during these 2 months, because transit Saturn and transit Mars had combined, and remember Mars is the lord of the 2nd and 9th house and Saturn is the lord of the 12th house. They both are in the 10th house, having a direct aspect on the 4th house where natal Mars is residing, natal Mercury is residing. The possibility is very high for this particular native to get married or do something pertaining to marriage during this 2 months period. Now that I said it, let's go deeper and see in Vimshottari Dasa. In Saturn Mahadasa, Saturn Antaradasa, and Rahu Pratyantara Dasa. That's see, Rahu Pratyantara Dasa will be running during March and April of 2018. So Rahu is in the first house, having a direct aspect on the seventh house. So Rahu might kick on that event of getting for the Minato to get married, and so we got to go and go back and say what is where is the transit Rahu and transit Jupiter. This is very important because transit Jupiter is the lord of the Lagnadipati, first house lord residing in the second house is Dhanasthanadipati and Kutumbasthanadipati. So transit Jupiter, when it is in Libra, it's going to have a direct aspect on the second house where natal Jupiter is residing. So the Jupiter, both transit Jupiter and natal Jupiter, they together became very strong. Thus the Lagnadipati residing in the second house is going to make sure that the native will have either gain in Dhanasthanamu, like earnings will be imaged, there will be increase in earnings, or Kutumbasthanamu will have an ability to start a family. That is when transit Jupiter, because transit Jupiter is in Libra. Now transit Rahu is in the fifth house. Fifth house is owned by Moon. So from fifth house, it's going to have a direct aspect on the 11th house. 11th house is house of desires, owned by Saturn. Natal Saturn residing in the 9th house is looking at the 11th house, the house of desires. So Rahu and natal Saturn are looking at the 11th house, and the period that you see is Saturn Mahadasa, Saturn Antardasa, and Rahu Pratyantara Dasa. So to be more precise, this is the time in these 2 months there will be some sort of an indication or an event that just gets kicked off, even though the result you may not see in these 2 months, but the initiation of the event will be in during these 2 months of period for this particular native to get married. And not only to get married, there is also another possibility for this particular native during these 2 periods is a change in career resulting in higher wages or income or whatever you call it. And because it is the Bhagyasthanamu and Dhanasthanamu, something and 10th house career, something is going to happen that will have an increase in Dhanasthanamu, money, wealth, and Bhagyasthanamu, earnings. So let me wait for the till May and then contact the native and see and ask what exactly has happened these 2 months. Let us now consider analyzing the third important combination. In my opinion, this is the third important combination that I would say is the combination of Venus and Jupiter in Libra. In the year 2018, transit Jupiter will be in Libra until July of 2018 approximately. So when you look at it, no, it's not July. Yeah, it's all the way till, yeah, I see it in October. Yeah, so transit Jupiter will be in Libra for a long time. So Venus and Jupiter will co-join in Libra somewhere in September and October of 2018. That's for almost 2 months they will be co-joining, staying together in Libra. So you might ask, why is this combination that special? First of all, for Jupiter, Venus is a neutral planet, so it's okay. Jupiter is trying to stay in a planet owned by neutral, that is Venus, and Venus vice versa too. So we don't need to worry. Basically, the combination of these two has no major impact in general. But when you superimpose on any native that has a for that native Libra being a very crucial house or crucial planets are residing in Libra, then this combination will have a major impact on that particular native. That's the reason why I took, for this third combination, I took this special case. This is the birth chart of the famous Bollywood actress Katrina Kaif, if you see the chart, Libra is the 11th house, house of desires and labhasthanamu, financial gains or financial losses. So Libra is very very important here. So the house lord is Venus, and transit Venus when it enters the 11th house Libra, that means the house lord Venus is going to enter the 11th house lord Venus is going to stay in 11th house, but at the same time what it's going to do is it's going to co-join with the first house lord Jupiter. Here for this particular native, Jupiter and is the lord of the first and fourth houses, and the natal Jupiter is already residing in its own house, the first house. So when Jupiter and Venus combine in the 11th house, the first and the fourth house lord, how is it going to impact when there are two other important planets in the 11th house Libra? For this particular native in Libra, you can see the two important planets Saturn and Mars. Mars is the lord of the 12th house, pleasures of bed when it comes to marriage, and 12th house also deals with unexpected expenditures and hospitalization. So Mars is over there. As if that is not sufficient, you have that another natural malefic planet Saturn, the second and third house lord, is residing in Libra, and in Libra Saturn is in exalted position. So when you look at natal Saturn, natal Mars, transit Venus and transit Jupiter, when you all these four planets are going to be in Libra for 2 months, and there is going to be so much of intensive fight between these planets, because Saturn and Jupiter are bitter enemies and Saturn and Venus are friends, but Venus and Mars are bitter enemies, and Mars and Jupiter are friends. So what's happening here is that for one transit planet there's an enemy and a friend, for another transit planet the first transit planet's enemy is a friend and the first transit planet's friend is an enemy. So there's a lot of friction that you can see between these four planets during this 2 months, in specifically these 2 months. Now when you look at it, the Saturn, when you look at the Vimsotari Dasa, Saturn Mahadasa and Saturn Antardasa is also running exactly at the same time in the year 2018. For this particular native, the whole 2018 is Saturn Mahadasa and Saturn Antardasa. And now with Saturn, the second house lord Dhanasthanadipati and Kutundapasthanadipati residing in the 11th house, house of desires, co-joined with the 12th house lord Mars, you can say like, okay, is there a possibility for this native to get married for some reason or the other? That's one thing you can say. But with Jupiter, the first house lord, residing in the transit Jupiter residing there, as I said earlier, whenever a Jupiter and Saturn has any sort of a relationship, disappointment and hurdles are sure to happen. So something, if the native is trying to make the thought that getting married is a top priority in year 2018, then pertaining to marriage there will be disappointment and hurdles resulting to lack of desires. Second, if the native thinks that because the second house deals with dhanasthanamu, okay, so if the native thinks that earning money is a top priority, then because of this unique combination there will be negative impact on financial gains, which is financial losses. Remember, Mars is there. Mars is a 12th house lord, and 12th house deals with unexpected expenditures. So something is possible to sure to happen for this particular native. As if that is not enough, when you go, okay, we'll stay here and look at one more time. The transit Jupiter, natal Saturn's direct third aspect is on first house, because it is in the 11th house. The third aspect is on first house, where you see the natal Jupiter residing. So transit Jupiter is co-joining with the natal Saturn. Natal Saturn is having a third aspect on natal Jupiter. And Jupiter is the Lagnadipati. Jupiter is residing in the first house. So Jupiter is looking at 5th, 7th and 9th houses. 5th house children, 7th house Kalatrastanama or marriage, 9th house is Dharmasthanama or Bhagyasthanama. Overall, because of this combination, there will be some sort of a disappointments or hurdles pertaining to the self, to the native, pertaining to 5th house, 7th house, 9th house, 11th house and 11th house. That's for sure. These are the 4 houses that are going to have a major impact during during the year 2018, and to be more precise, in September and October of 2018. Now let's go and try to look at the other 2 important slow moving transit planets, Rahu and Saturn. Transit Rahu is going to be in the 8th house. Yeah, 8th house. Owner is Chandra, Moon. Moon is the Lagnadipati. Moon is the lord of the 8th house. Transit Saturn is going to reside in the 8th house, where natal Sun, the 9th house lord Sun, is residing. 8th house deals with secret affairs or something that deals with secrecy, and the 9th house is Dharmasthanamu and Bhagyasthanamu. So the 9th house lord is going to stay there, and transit Rahu is touching the 9th house lord Sun. So what's going to happen? Something, Rahu, wherever it sits, one thing is for sure to happen. He creates some sort of he makes that particular house dynamic. So the 8th house will become dynamic. 8th house deals with secret affairs or secret dealings, and the 9th house lord being there, that secret affairs or secret dealings will be against the dharma, or will result in some loss of Bhagyastha, because 9th house also deals with Bhagyasthanama, will result in some sort of financial issues. Remember, in 11th house, which is financial gains, there is a negative impact for financial gain for this particular native. This is this transit Rahu is going to support by creating some hurdles to the 9th house lord Sun. Now, as if that is not enough, let's go and look at the transit Saturn. Transit Saturn, the guy, is residing in Sagittarius, which is the first house. So transit Saturn is co-joined with natal Jupiter, again resulting into disappointments, hurdles in the first house, and they both together are directly having a look at the 7th house. So if the native is trying to get married, the problem is that it ends up in disappointments or some sort of a hurdles. And we have Saturn Mahadasa and Saturn Antardasa. And to be more precise, when you look at the Vimsottari Dasa, somewhere between April 2018 and all the way till September 2018, we have Rahu Pratyantara Dasa. So when this particular combination is happening, that is in September and October of 2018, if you look at it, you are going to have Jupiter Pratyantara Dasa, Saturn Mahadasa, Saturn Antardasa, and Jupiter Pratyantara Dasa. And whether you look at the natal Saturn, natal Jupiter, or a transit Jupiter, it's having it's co-joining with Saturn, either a natal or a transit. So because of this particular unique transit planets combination on this particular chart, and because the Vimsottari Dasa is again showing us the important planets Mahadasa, Antaradasa and Pratyantara Dasa, this particular native is sure to have a number of that both September and October, this particular native is sure to have her life very dynamic, challenging, resulting in loss of money or something like that. I hope you take it. Okay. Let me see what exactly happens to this particular native in November or December. Thank you. This is a new way that I want to show how the transit planets and the natal planets combine in the constellation. If you look at this diagram, generally the chart starts at 0 degrees in Aries and goes all the way to 360 degrees. That's in a circular motion in a circle. But what I did was I converted the circle into a flat screen, and then so I got the scale from 0 degrees to 360 degrees, and then I put on the inclination for the natal Saturn, natal Mars, transit Jupiter, and transit Venus. When you look at the inclinations and put on the inclinations and look at it, what you can see is that transit Jupiter is very close to the natal planet, two natal planets. Venus is a little bit farther away. So as I said before, Jupiter is a bitter enemy for Saturn and but a good friend for Mars. So Jupiter is now between an enemy which is heavier than Jupiter from the volume, from the planet perspective, and with a friend Mars. So what happens is that whatever the impact that Mars, the positive side thing that Mars wants to do with the help of Jupiter, would be negated with by Saturn, so that positive part will be minimized, and at the same time whatever the Saturn negative part that Saturn wants to do it will be negated by Mars because of this being a friend. So the negative part will also get minimized. Overall, what you can see is all the predictions that I have said earlier. Because of this, what I think is that the impact, whether it is a positive or a negative, the impact for this particular NATO is not that great to be worried about, but it is, the possibility is that it is, the NATO can sense that impact and feel the impact and also will go through the outcome of that impact. I hope I'll wait for the year end of year, that is in 2018 December. I will see if there is any news coming up about this particular NATO. If I hear anything, I will post it over here. Thank you.